What's happening today, Internet fans? It's a beautiful day today, San Diego County. Again, it is 12:30 p.m. I made a video yesterday, and when I tried to upload it, it said processing failed twice, and both times I did it in the exact same manner, in the exact same way I've done it numerous times in the past. So, pretty irritated by that. But what are you gonna do? I'm gonna put this in the mount, drive it safely with both hands. There we go. Oh. Cell phone mount to work properly for me. Failing miserably, apparently. Safely with both of my hands on the steering wheel, which is what I prefer, by the way. Yeah, so I tried to upload a video yesterday, and for some reason, even though it's the exact same way I've done it a number of times, I was having technical difficulties with it, which is funny because it's like, A, I'm an IT guy. B, I've done this, I don't know, a few hundred times now. I had the Tech and Crypto vlog that I had like over 80 episodes of. I've had the Masternode News that I've had almost 70 episodes of. I've been live streaming, posting, doing probably 1,000 music videos, and yet I'm still having technical difficulties, even with a top-of-the-line phone and a top-of-the-line provider and top-of-the-line experience and knowledge on how to handle all this, and yet I'm still having technical difficulties. It's just reconfirming again how little we've advanced as a species when it comes to technology, and how that connects directly with how little we've advanced as a species with, our financial system and cryptocurrency and everything. It's just, we are really pathetic primates who are just barely contributing to our own development in any kind of meaningful way. And it's just really sad. It's really sad how much wasted effort that I'm seeing every day in every way. I mean, I've been in these crazy debates online on Facebook and Twitter with all these people discussing the Colin Kaepernick Nike thing, and it's just like the whole context of the debate is completely wrong. The whole thought process behind most people's thinking in it is just completely wrong, and it's just a dumpster fire, just an absolute dumpster fire. And this is what people are focusing on. They want to go burn their Nikes, or they want to justify this guy kneeling and protesting police brutality. I mean, the context of the entire thing is absolutely insane. First of all, police brutality is a real issue. We hire cops that are below a certain IQ level. And most of the people who gravitate towards that industry generally have real psychological issues that, contribute to their ability to perform violence on their fellow man, etc. And we actually limit the IQ level of the people who want to be in that profession. So, and then we're surprised or outraged or whatever when cops are shooting unarmed black kids. And it's like, well, what did you expect? You literally hired the worst possible candidates for that role. And then they acted in the completely predictable manner. And now we're upset about it. And now we're going to have some, and I'm sorry, I think, Colin Kaepernick, I think his heart's in the right place, but I think he's just a dumb jock. That's my opinion. And I think he's a dumb jock who works for one of the most evil corporations on the planet that engages in slave labor. So, I mean, he doesn't exactly have, the moral high ground here to convince me of anything, certainly. And he's trying to bring attention to the police brutality specifically through an identitarian way, focusing on the fact that police are frequently brutal to black people. And yet the statistics are fairly insignificant on that. Yes, police brutality is a real issue, a very real issue. And yes, it does affect African Americans. But to make the argument that it affects African Americans disproportionately compared to the rest of the population is not really statistically significant, actually, if you look into it. Cops kill white people as often as they kill black people. And there's actually some statistics that cops are actually more brutal towards white people than black people. and that's per capita. So that's taking into account the fact that that Black people only make up 13% of the population in this country. So it's not really disproportionate, the violence against Black people by police versus the violence against white people, for instance, or Asians or Mexicans, or, you know, I mean, it's all wrapped up in this identity politics, like where everybody wants to talk about racism and sexism. And it's like, the reality is there are serious sexist and racist issues in this country, but none of the real ones are being addressed. We're just going to address these small little soundbite ones, like police brutality, that actually statistically are not as significant as some of the other very real sexist and racist issues that our country faces on an institutional level. And it's funny for me to talk about any of this because, A, I'm a white guy, and people are like, oh, whatever, Mr. White Guy is going to tell us his opinion on racism like he knows anything. He's a white guy. Well, first of all, actually, I am an older white male. That is the number one racial and age and ethnic group that is okay to belittle on corporate media. We are by far the most abused group vocally by, you know, on mass media constantly. It's okay in our culture to belittle and berate white men, especially older white men. And, you know, there's 100 million white men in this country, and you think all of them had anything to do with slavery or oppression or you know, everything that's happened in the past? It's, you know, and a lot of people are like, well, it's a pendulum and it swings back and this is just fair. Fair is fair. And it's not fucking fair. It's not fair for white men. It's not fair for men in general. It's definitely not fair for white men. And to claim that the oppression of white men now is somehow okay because Black men used to be oppressed in the past, or still are oppressed in many situations, is absolutely absurd. We should not be oppressing anybody based on their race, ethnicity, age, sex, none of that. But nobody wants to say that. They're just like, oh yeah, you know, I don't know. It's, and the other thing is too, I mean, this is, look at who we're talking about. This guy plays football. He plays an athletic game that people worship. And that's, you know, and it's an athletic game that's kind of mind-numbingly dumb. I mean, people are bashing their heads against each other wearing plastic helmets. This is just absolutely the lowest brow thing we could even be spending our time on. And then when one of them decides not to stand during the national anthem, wherein we're worshiping a cloth to a song about glorifying war in a country that uses robots to murder children in the third world. I mean, where do we unpack that? Where do we decide, okay, here's where we're going to draw the line and get upset and be emotional? And I mean, you know, I mean, come on. And this whole thing is being sponsored and endorsed by a company that makes shoes that actually harm human health. Nike shoes and most shoes, in fact, wearing shoes in general is harmful to human health, physically harmful to the individual wearing shoes. There's tons of studies and evidence that shows going barefoot is better for human health than wearing shoes. That's just a simple fact. You can debate it, you can look it up, you can do that research on your own. And they're making those harmful shoes using slave labor in the third world. And I think third world is a valid term, although somebody in one of the threads today was trying to tell me that using the term third world is racist. But I feel like America is the third world. I mean, you know, we haven't had a legitimate election in like 50 years, and we have this giant military that's absorbing most of our budget every year. So in what way are we not a third world banana republic? And therefore, since I am a citizen in a third world banana republic, don't I have the right to use that term? It's like a black person using the N-word, right? I mean, it's okay if you're black to use the N-word. Supposedly, I think it's not okay. I think it's a very poor life choice if you happen to be a black person throwing the N-word all the time. I think that the entire hip-hop culture and the glamorization of, drug use and drug sales and promiscuity and prostitution and all of that has done more to hinder African American culture than it's certainly in the last 20 or 30 or 50 years or whatever than anything that that white people are doing at the moment. Certainly white individuals, certainly random white older males, like, I get that, white older males 100 years ago or 200 years ago owned, plantations and had slaves. And I'm not trying to absolve that historical guilt or something, but dude, most white guys I know are poor. Overwhelmingly, most of them are poor. And in fact, most of the very poor people I know are white guys. In fact, most of the very poor people I know are older white guys. Younger white guys don't have it much better, but older white guys, almost universally older white guys I know have either been forced out of some kind of employment due to age discrimination. That's certainly true in the IT field. You see it all the time. Most of them have gone through some kind of horrible divorce wherein it completely was one-sided and their ex-wife got everything. And then now they're forced to pay, egregious child support, alimony. Dude, white guys are screwed in 2018. Screwed. And yet, people are just quick to, you're a white guy, therefore you're a racist, therefore you have no right to speak or think or anything. And it's like, how is that not racist? Are you kidding me? That's racism. The fact that it's okay to make fun of white guys on television and in magazines and everywhere, that's racist. That's institutional racism at the highest level in a huge way. The way white men are portrayed in commercials and stuff is absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. If we portrayed black men the way that we portray white men in commercials, there would be an uproar. And yet, just because at one point, sometime in the last few centuries, certainly not recently, white men were a little bit privileged. Now it's suddenly okay. I don't think so. I think that's the height of hypocrisy. And I think it's very disturbing the way that our corporate media and the way that our social media and the way that everybody has just kind of just co-opted that into their, reality and just accepted it is just really, really wrong. Really, really wrong. And I'm very upset as a father of a white child, in particular, a white boy. As a father, I'm very upset for the institutional racism he's going to suffer through for his entire life that is completely accepted right now by everybody. It's disgusting. So, all right, let's get into crypto, shall we? This is crypto thoughts, right? The market just took an absolute bludgeoning. Not today, but yesterday, night before last or whatever. Bitcoin lost $1,000 in value. One Bitcoin lost $1,000 in value in less than 24 hours. Huge drop, went from 7,400 to 6,400 in the blink of an eye. And the entire market overall lost $40 billion very, very quickly. Huge, anybody claiming that Bitcoin isn't volatile or the crypto market isn't volatile, claiming that because it's an indefensible position. Yeah, definitely that's an indefensible position. Crypto market is still very volatile. Bitcoin is still very volatile. Really no good reason for it at all. In my opinion. Let's see what else occurred. There we go. Using our top of the line phone, top of the line provider, and my feed just cut out for a minute. And I have to live stream and record it and then upload that. Processing fails. Why? Why is it the processing fails? YouTube. Can you explain that to me? Verizon? YouTube? Samsung? Who's to blame here for the processing failing? Just trying to upload my daily vlog. Okay, so I don't know where we got cut off, but yeah, Bitcoin lost $1,000 in less than 24 hours. The whole market went down 40 billion. And at one point, a smart cash masternode was $220. I consider smart cash one of the top 5 masternode coins. Has the strongest masternode network, and at one point it was $220. That's why I'm hat, because my hair looks ridiculous. My hair is always ridiculous. I just have terrible hair. Nothing you can do about it. I think the smart cash price has recovered a little bit. I think, in fact, most market prices have recovered a little bit, but not too much. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I definitely think that it's been a good time to buy. I think most of this year has been a good time to buy, other than the very first couple of weeks of January. I do think that overall, most people are losing money in crypto because they're acting emotionally and they're FOMOing, and they're not buying when the price is low, and they're not selling when the price is high. Most people have a hard time doing that. They tend to follow the herd, follow the pack, jump in with both feet when the market's going up, and then get discouraged and sell their assets when the market's going down. So I think most people are in fact losing money, which is too bad. I do think that's kind of inevitable. That's just the way the markets work. But I also think it's really too bad, and I do think it's a lack of education and a lack of people's ability to control their own emotions. People have no control over their emotions. I mean, and then Tesla stock went down 7% today because Elon Musk smoked a joint on the Joe Rogan show. And that is just, I mean, talk about ignorance manifesting in the marketplace. Jeez Louise. I mean, first of all, it was barely a puff. If you've ever smoked marijuana before, then you'll know that like the little he did with hardly even inhaling is not going to affect him drastically, and certainly isn't going to affect the long-term prospects of the Tesla Corporation, other than in that, you know, insane older institutional investors are going to like frown on it because they're ignorant on the topic of marijuana in general, and certainly ignorant on the topic of Tesla in general. Just the whole thing is just so ridiculous. I mean, look at the people who have been known to be marijuana enthusiasts. Look at some of the celebrities that we know who have been known to be marijuana enthusiasts. Elon Musk, the only person who's been able to bring an electric car to market in any kind of sensible, reasonable way, potentially saving the planet, etc. I don't know. I think that's a little bit overblown. Also, the only person to get private space exploration, have any kind of success in the realm of private space exploration in human history. That's pretty crazy. He's able to do that. Also, he was a big part of Solar City, so he's been helping people invest in solar power and potentially saving the planet. Again, I don't necessarily believe what the mainstream media is telling us about climate change, etc. Not that I'm a climate change denier. That's a whole separate topic. I mean, obviously, there are some very real ecological disasters that we've promulgated at the end of the industrial era, which I do believe we're kind of towards the end of the industrial era. I do think things are going to rapidly change with 3D printing and prototyping and just advances in technology. We're kind of in the information age now already, and things are going to change even more drastically and radically and rapidly very soon, I think, in a positive way ecologically. Fingers crossed. I mean, obviously our species is so pathetic and weak, I don't want to get my hopes up too much, right? Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk is, you know, maybe one of the greatest human beings alive today. I mean, that's certainly debatable. Certainly, maybe one of the greatest people affecting positive change for our species who has ever lived. That's an argument that you could endeavor in. and it would be at least plausible to be on one side of that argument. I mean, I know, I'm already on my way. I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe he's maybe he's just a figurehead and an actor, and maybe, he's not actually as awesome as he seems to be. There's a lot of people claiming that as well at this point, and that's possible. I don't know. I'm not Elon Musk. I don't personally know Elon Musk, but I think he is certainly, I mean, if we take his ownership of Tesla, his ownership of SpaceX, his ownership of Solar City, and what he's done for the advancement of technology in our species at face value, which I haven't seen compelling evidence not to, personally, then yeah, he's a pretty amazing individual. And the fact that he puffed a little bit of marijuana on his day off during a podcast is just, and that's somehow affecting his company's bottom line. It's like, it's insane. It's completely insane. And let's think about some of the other total losers who smoke marijuana, okay? Let's talk about Michael Phelps, right? Arguably the greatest Olympic athlete in human history. He won like 8 gold medals for swimming, by the way, which is like, swimming is one of the most arduous athletic things you can do. I did a lot of different sports when I was growing up, and swimming is serious. If you're a serious swimmer, a serious athlete in the realm of swimming, you're a serious athlete, period. Swimming is much harder than most of the other sports. I also did cross country in college, and I would say that in some ways swimming is harder and more arduous than cross country. Cross country is, hey, go run up the side of a mountain for 6 miles. So that's not exactly a lightweight, easy athletic thing. Anybody who's ran more than a mile knows that. And running up the side of a mountain for 6 miles is definitely not easy. So, and I would put swimming up there with that. So, and people are, at this point, talking about marijuana users as if they're like, universally lazy losers just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yes, I do think some people rely on marijuana in unhealthy ways, and that leads them to unhealthy lifestyles, probably. But I mean, obviously we have some pretty clear examples of people who don't fit that mold, and so it's certainly clear that we shouldn't be as hasty to judge all marijuana users based on our experience with a few people who maybe do make poor lifestyle choices and also smoke marijuana, and maybe smoke marijuana in a way that is a poor lifestyle choice. I mean, Elon Musk, Michael Phelps, Carl Sagan, some of the greatest authors and musicians and composers in human history have been involved in marijuana smoking. And to claim at this point that moderate or effective marijuana usage is somehow indicative of, it just shouldn't have affected the Tesla stock price. That's for damn sure. It's like every day I'm constantly reminded how ridiculous our species is, how ignorant, uninformed, and judgmental we are on an individual and collective level. It's just like, it's really sad. It's really sad. And it affects the crypto space too. I mean, the crypto market is just, it's ridiculous. Some coins are, are held in like way higher esteem than they should be. Some coins aren't, worth anything. And it's all based on like these like petty little human, foibles and opinions based on everybody's individual, experience, most of which is ill-informed and frankly based in ignorance, And then people are like emotional about the way that's affecting their holdings in the crypto market. It's like, dude, we are barely evolved from the rest of the primates. And if you watch a documentary about chimpanzees and the stuff they engage in, and they are the closest genetically related to us. I mean, they're fundamentally not that much different than us. Chimpanzees really aren't that much different than humans. And they are just brutal and cruel and have almost no ethics. So yeah, so that's what's going on with the crypto market, the stock market, and the world in general. Everybody's focused on these identity politics, judging everybody by judging every book by its cover. Older white male, you have nothing to say of value. Unlike, despite innumerable examples to the contrary. Let me name some older white males who I think definitely had something to contribute to humanity. All right, let's go ahead and go through the list, shall we? How about Nikola Tesla? It's an older white male. Is it, because he's an older white male, is he somehow would be a poor choice for a hiring manager to hire, or, shouldn't be allowed to state his opinions freely on YouTube about, different topics? Is that what, older white male, Albert Einstein? Think Albert Einstein didn't contribute to human discourse in any way? How about Beethoven? What do you think? Beethoven, older white male. Think he should be handed an unfair divorce ruling, an unfair child custody ruling, just solely on his age and the color of his skin? Is that valid? See, can we name some other older white males who are pretty awesome? How about Elon Musk? He's an older white male. Had a little puff of marijuana. Think we should go ahead and devalue his company 7% the next day because he puffed a little marijuana on his day off. I think that's a reasonable stance, a reasonable. Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot to say about crypto yesterday. I said a lot. I made a video. It did not post. Now I'm just I've been stuck in these identitarian arguments with people who are just completely ignorant in every way. And, there are some really, really horrible older white males out there, and ones you can be genuinely angry about. I'm thinking about John McCain, helped to perpetrate a genocide across, the entire Middle East for decades. Did so after being a victim of a horrible POW instance himself, and yet still, in a very hypocritical way,